Good evening, everyone. My name is Asuka Nosaka. You can also call me Asuka. Those are two ways to say my name. I am currently working at CSU as a financial aid counselor in the Office of Financial Aid. So right now, our office is in full semester start, and I just got off work, and I've already put in like 10 hours of overtime this week, so it's been a busy, eventful week. And I still apparently have my name tag on because I forgot to take it off. So yeah, I am currently in my second half of the SAHI graduate certificate. So I'll be done this summer, which is awesome. And so yeah, this class and the summer course is the last one I have. So I'm halfway through. And so I just wanted to say hello and good evening, and I hear there's a lot of people in this course, so I'm excited. Student developmental theory has always been one of my favorite things. I've kind of dabbled in it a bit, not really academically, but in areas I worked with learning communities and orientation programs and first-gen students, so I'm excited to learn the academics of it. My cat is like meowing and being obnoxious, so if he jumps around, I'm sorry. So I guess the first thing is just an intro. So that's me. Been at CSU working in the financial aid office for over 2 years. I'm an alum of CSU. Graduated back in 2012, started in 2008. First gen student to college. At CSU we also have a first gen scholarship, and so I was one of the lucky recipients of that, which helped me pay for my undergrad. Identify as mixed race. That's a huge part of my identity, as well as my first gen status. So I'm a big advocate of our first gen students. So I guess that can tie into kind of the share a memory of your first weeks as an undergrad. I came from a very small community. I grew up about 40 miles west of Trinidad, Colorado, the very south side of Colorado. My graduating class was 9 people. There were 3 girls and the rest were boys. So it was a very small school, K through 12, 170 some students total. So coming to CSU was, in a sense, a shocker, but then not at the same time. My sister came to CSU when I was 5 and continued to work here after undergrad, and she's a director here at CSU as well. She is the director of the learning communities on campus and helped start some of the learning communities on campus. So because of that, I had a lot of contact. In the summers when I would visit her, I'd actually go to work with her and just hang out and get to know people. So I know have a lot of really interesting experiences and ties to this campus. But I think for me, my first few weeks were both kind of filled with shock and also slightly just overwhelming. Coming from a very small school, no matter how many times my sister and supporters told me, like, you're going to be in some large classes, I never expected my first sociology course to be over 350 students. So that was a huge shocker. The adjustment was really hard. My school was in a very rural community, so I didn't have a lot of great resources, and the teaching wasn't all that great, so it was a challenge adjusting to the coursework and just the scheduling. But I was lucky enough to be a part of the key communities at CSU, which are the residential learning communities. And essentially I had an upperclassman mentor and 19 other students that we took classes together our first semester, and we basically built the community around that. So that was really helpful for me to transition. If I didn't have that and I just went to some random university that I'd never touched foot on as a first gen student, I would have probably freaked out. But just some things trying to navigate, like, what's financial aid and how does it work, and not really understanding, like, oh, you can use your financial aid to purchase books, or the terminology, because I was first gen, was very challenging. My sister was on maternity leave my first semester, so even though she was here, she wasn't at the same time. So it was really great because I got to establish my own identity, because a lot of people on campus knew me as Ty's little sister. And so, but at the same time, it was challenging because she was learning how to be a mom for the first time and doing her own thing. So I was still left to navigating a lot on my own. But because of that, In the current learning communities, I was never fully alone, which was really awesome. I guess my expectations that I have of one another is just being okay to share and being okay to be vulnerable. I know we have a lot of different perspectives, whether they be personal, whether they be things we've learned, and kind of just being okay with being comfortable on voicing where our opinions coming from and why we believe that, and then backing them up, obviously, but in a very respectable manner. My undergrad was in ethnic studies, so I am very much focused on race and gender and sexuality and intersectionality. So a lot of my lens and my language comes from there. And I did a lot of women's studies courses, so I'm all about like the racial development in higher ed, like totally excited to learn more about that. Just because it's kind of where my voice is and where my calling is. I've done a lot of social justice work in my own life and the spheres around me and kind of my own beliefs. So yeah, let's see. And just allow myself to continue to challenge myself and knowing that I don't know everything, even though I have a lot of experience working with student affairs type work. Things change, students change, the dynamic changes. So I'm excited for that. So the challenges and supports on college campuses, that's kind of broad because it can vary depending on student. So first-gen students, depending on where they come from, what challenges they might have with the language and how things work, compared to a student who's had family members go to college and know how the in and outs of that is. Keeping up as an administrative side, just keeping up with how generations change. And even though I graduated back in 2012, it's really interesting because I worked with students and I mentored students all through my undergrad to see how they've changed and the dynamic that they've changed and perspectives and how they view things and how technology has come into play. So I think those are some challenges for us as individuals working in the administrative side of things. Of what are those changes and how are we going to combat them and roll with them and adapt with them. So I'm excited to kind of the paper that we have on some of the pick a student population in our research paper. I'm kind of excited that, don't know exactly what I'm going to write about, but I'm looking forward to that because I think it'd be really cool just to hear ideas from the friends I have in this course on what they're doing, because that's really exciting. College has a lot of support. I don't think students realize how much support college has for them, because we live in such an individualistic society where it's like you have to do it on your own, you have to do this, it's set on you, and if you fail, it's your failure. Whereas in college, we're here, and everyone I know who works with students, we're working with students because we want them to succeed. We want them to be challenged and to grow in the best way possible. And so I think as an undergrad myself, looking back, if you ask for help, there are going to be people there to help you. And just getting past that and finding those support networks, whether you are, racially, ethnically diverse, first gen, out of state, come from a small town. There's a lot of those identities I see in students, but those identities live true with faculty and staff. And so, there's support everywhere. And if there isn't, there's someone willing to be, okay, we need to figure out how we can establish support for that issue and make it no longer an issue and make it a place where students can feel supported and understood. So yeah, a lot of information about kind of where I'm coming from. So I'm excited to start this course and excited to be challenged and to grow and to learn a little more and to get to know more individuals in this program. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm pretty sure we'll hear and talk a lot with each other via discussions and all that. So I hope you all have a good night. I'm actually going to go do the homework for this week now.